Okay, so let me get this straight. The EPA, the agency whose entire job is protecting the environment, just killed the rule that lets them regulate climate pollution. By their own math, that's going to cost you $180 billion. That's not a Democrat number. That's the EPA's own number, buried in their own report. So when Rep. Menendez sat down with Trump's EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin yesterday, he came in armed. Gas prices, health costs, the $1 billion Trump took from big oil. And by the end, he was demanding Zeldin just say one thing, that Kristi Noem was wrong. Zeldin couldn't do it. Watch.
Thank you, Chairman. Administrator Zeldin, I'm from New Jersey, you're from Long Island, and Superstorm Sandy devastated both of our communities. Just yes or no, would you agree that Sandy endangered communities in New York and New Jersey?
Absolutely.
I would too. And now we know that climate change worsened Sandy's impact, causing an additional $8 billion of damage from sea level rise and exposing 71,000 more people to flooding. Despite that disaster, which impacted Long Island and New Jersey, the EPA under your leadership has repealed the 2009 endangerment finding and all climate pollution standards for vehicles, undermining the foundation of the EPA's ability to mitigate greenhouse gas pollution and reduce the risk of more frequent and intense superstorms inflicted by climate change. These massive rollbacks are also happening in the midst of an affordability crisis. By the EPA's own admission, the rollbacks will actually cost American families $180 billion in net costs, yet you still insist on misrepresenting this repeal as a good deal for the American people. So I want to highlight some of the flawed assertions. Just yes or no, when the EPA analyzed the impacts of this decision, it relied in part on the assumption that oil will cost about $47 per barrel. Is that correct?
There were many different models that were used.
But $47 is what I actually have it here, is the amount that was the baseline. Are you familiar with what current oil prices are per barrel?
Sure. Today?
Yes, today.
They're higher than that.
Yeah, it's actually today, U.S. gas prices hit the highest level since the beginning of Trump's war with Iran, and we know that Americans are paying for Trump's war at the pump, with average gas prices around $4 a gallon and diesel prices around $5 a gallon. Now, with the repeal of the endangerment finding and vehicle greenhouse gas standards, among other clean vehicle policies, the EPA's own analysis shows that gas prices will increase another 75 cents a gallon by 2050, adding more than $3 billion per year in fuel costs for American drivers. But I want to move on. We also know that pollution has real impacts on the health of the people that we represent, and research shows that climate change will drive $45 billion in additional health costs by 2050. Just yes or no, did the EPA fully and comprehensively account for additional healthcare costs, respiratory illnesses, hospitalizations, premature deaths associated with these rollbacks?
The decision was made based on the fact that the best reading of Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, EPA does not have the authority for the 2009 endangerment fund.
So it did not, right? So all these impacts to the people that
because it was
we
a
represent,
legal analysis.
That you used to represent, are going to see worse healthcare outcomes. And this comes on the back of last year when Republicans in the Trump administration cut $1 trillion from Medicaid and shift billions in SNAP administrative costs onto states and counties. Administrator Zeldin, I know you ran for governor of New York, so you're familiar with how state budgets work. State officials have been clear that these decisions are creating major budget shortfalls, and states are struggling. So with nearly $3.5 billion in proposed cuts to water infrastructure and categorical grants, does that mean that residents of New York should expect higher water bills or delayed projects? Which one?
Well, it's interesting how you're posing the question.
It's either or, right? Because you're cutting funding to
energy
states,
prices.
right? Well,
you know how much energy prices are up in New Jersey?
What would you do if you were governor? What would you do if you were governor, right, of New York, which you ran for? Republicans cut $1 trillion from healthcare that now states have to backfill. Now you want to cut $3.5 billion from water infrastructure. New York, I'm sure, has a ton of projects that are now either going to be delayed, or to do those projects, it's going to be on the back of New Yorkers, right? So which one is it, delayed projects or higher costs for residents of New York, the state you sought to represent as
right? So
governor?
the first part of that, as I've referenced earlier, is that the EPA, the president's FY27 budget, does not factor in how much you're going to choose to raid the budget.
Okay, and that's a point you've made before, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on because you've said other crazy stuff. You've said other stuff, crazy stuff today. Okay, that the Biden administration, I mean, are you going to do anything at some point? I mean,
You ask a question.
How many instances?
You ask
do
a
you
question,
have
give me an
have
opportunity to
him-
answer.
Because I moved on, and you've done this numerous times.
on.
So listen,
You ask
I just
a
want to ask
question.
you a question. You've said that the Biden administration with the IRA had more funds than the EPA knew how to spend, and there was waste, fraud, and abuse, right? And this was going out to people that were in the Biden orbit. You had said that earlier. Yet I'm curious if you have any issue with the fact that during the 2024 campaign, the president asked the oil and gas industry for $1 billion in exchange for supporting these rollbacks that the EPA is administering now. Is that at all an issue for you that the president said to the oil and gas industry, give me $1 billion and I will do your work? Is that not the work that the EPA is doing
I
today?
don't know. Are you actually asking questions where you
I'm
want
asking
answers?
a question. Are you going to give an answer?
I'm going to start an answer, and then you're going to cut me off. Is that how this works?
All right, well, if that's going to be the case, then I have another thing for you. What do you think about the $220 million ad campaign that Secretary Noem had with the
What do you
DHS
think about
that
the
went directly to
46% increase in
Trump?
energy
I'm
prices in
talking.
New Jersey?
That went to Trump
How about the
operatives. Did you speak
56%
out against
increase
that
in
as a
New York?
member of the administration?
How about the fact
did you
that
speak
the Biden
out?
EPA
Did you
was
speak
giving
out against that
billions
as
of
a member of the
dollars to
administration?
former Obama and Biden
I mean,
officials?
like the whole day.
How about the conflicts of interest during the Biden EPA that you don't want to uphold?
All right, what about in the Trump
About the
administration?
gold
All right.
bars
Well,
that
if you
they
want,
said
if
they
you
were
want to talk
throwing
about the
off
Biden
the
administration,
Titanic.
talk about the Trump administration. You're a part of the
ask a
administration.
question and you don't
So
want the
say that
answer.
Secretary Noem was wrong.
here to-
You're
he's
Say
here
that
to talk
Secretary
about the
Noem was wrong.
EPA.
You're not going to.
You don't want to work with the agency.
Mr. Zeldin. Thank you.
All right, take a breath. If that exchange left you a little dizzy, good. That means you were paying attention. Let me walk through what actually happened, because there are 3 separate scandals layered into that one conversation, and Zeldin dodged on every single one of them. So we'll go in order. Start with the foundation, the thing the whole rollback rests on, the 2009 endangerment finding. I know, sounds boring. Stay with me, because that one paragraph of federal regulation is the entire legal basis for the EPA being able to do anything at all about climate pollution. And the Trump EPA just officially killed it. This is the headline you're looking at on your screen right now. EPA officially guts the 2009 endangerment finding. Translation: they just officially told themselves they have no authority to regulate the thing they were literally created to regulate. It's like a fire department holding a vote and deciding fires aren't actually that hot. And here's the punchline nobody is reporting on. The EPA's own internal analysis, their own people, their own math, admits this rollback is going to cost Americans $180 billion in net costs. Their number, buried in their own report. They published it. They just hoped you wouldn't read it. And it gets worse. To make the math on this rollback look even halfway passable, the EPA based their entire cost model on the assumption that oil costs $47 a barrel. 47. You know what oil costs right now? Way higher than that. Gas is at $4 a gallon, diesel is hitting $5, and that's before this new rollback has even kicked in. The EPA's own numbers say their decision tax on another 75 cents per gallon by 2050. $3 billion a year extra at the pump. So the question isn't whether you'll pay for this. You will. The question is why. And this is why. This headline right here on screen. During the 2024 campaign, Donald Trump sat down with top oil and gas executives at Mar-a-Lago, and he asked them for $1 billion. In exchange, he promised to reverse the clean energy rules and auction off public land for drilling on day one. That's not me speculating. That's reported. That's documented. The Washington Post broke it. So, when Menendez asked Zeldin point blank if he had any problem with that quid pro quo, the actual policy he is now administering, Zeldin's answer was, and I'm paraphrasing here, "Hey, did you hear about Kristi Noem? That's the move. Real-time deflection." And the Noem thing he pivoted to? Also bad. $220 million in DHS ad money that flowed to Trump operatives. But watch what Zeldin would not do. Menendez asked him 3 separate times, just say Noem was wrong. He couldn't. He wouldn't. Because the entire administration runs on the idea that nobody in the family is ever wrong about anything. Ever. That's not a government. That's a cartel with a podium. And then there's this. The part that's actually going to hit your kitchen table the hardest. While the EPA is killing climate rules, while Trump is out there collecting oil checks, the same Republican budget is also slashing $3.5 billion from water infrastructure. And remember, this is after they already cut a full $1 trillion from Medicaid last year. So states like New York and New Jersey now get to make a choice: higher water bills or delayed safety projects. Pick one, because the federal government has decided your water isn't worth it. Cut the healthcare, cut the clean water, and hand the savings straight to the people writing the campaign checks. So here's the line. If anyone tries to tell you this rollback is about freedom or deregulation or unleashing American energy, just hand them three numbers. $180 billion in costs the EPA itself admits to. $1 billion Trump asked oil execs for. $3.5 billion cut from your drinking water. That's not policy. That's a transaction. And you, the person watching this, you're the one getting billed for it. The endangerment finding didn't get repealed because the science changed. It got repealed because the donors paid. If this helped you connect the dots, hit like, hit subscribe, share it with someone who needs to see it. I'll see you in the next one.